Hello, me llamo Christina Acosta. I'm originally from Los Angeles. Ahorita estoy trabajando en un nonprofit que se llama California Neurology Society. In that society, I help put on conferences for medical doctors where they get continuing medical education. And I also work for a private practice neurology clinic right now. My background was getting a PhD in traumatic brain injury, so I wanted to stay working in neuroscience. And so during my high school years, I honestly couldn't decide what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to school. I loved science since I was a little kid, but I didn't know what that would mean for a job. But all I knew is I couldn't afford to go to college. It was too expensive. My mom had just passed away, and then my dad, lived kind of far away. So I knew I couldn't. I needed to do something to help me go to school and pay for school. And I knew that the military did that because my dad was retired from the Air Force. My sister was in the Marine Corps. So I knew that the military was a path that you could take to help you with school. So I joined the Air Force right out of high school, like just months, and then I left to basic training in San Antonio, Texas, and from there I went on to go to my duty stations, and then I completed 4 years, and I added another year because I needed to extend to stay in Turkey when my second duty station, and then once that extension was over, I had to decide, was I going to re-enlist and stay in the Air Force, or was I going to get out and go to school full time? And so I decided to get out and go to school full time. And that was when in 2012, when I moved back to the United States, after getting out of the military, I moved to Las Vegas, and that's where I went to get my bachelor's degree, my first bachelor's degree, which is at University of Nevada, Las Vegas, in nutrition science. I was in medical logistics. So I worked in England. It was a huge hospital, and in Turkey it was a small clinic. But I would order medical supplies, medical equipment, drugs for the patients. So, and then I would deliver them to the patients, and then I did a lot of different things. But it was all medical logistics. The military in general, at least in the Estados Unidos, I don't know about other places.
Mhm.
The they they give you this thing called a GI Bill, and if you do at least 3 years to any of the services, Army, Navy, lo que sea, like they give you this GI Bill, and they pay 4 years of your university
Mm.
completely, and they also give you a housing allowance. They pay you monthly to help you pay for rent or your mortgage or whatever. I chose nutrition science because I had taken, while I was in the Air Force, I took a few classes here and there, like just math, science, history, like just the basics, and then I decided to take a nutrition class, and I loved it. I thought it was so interesting to learn about all the different vitamins and what they do in our body, and how even the food that we eat can impact if you're taking medications or so it's always really important to take in consideration how our food influences our body in a normal state, but also in a disease state. So that's how I ended up choosing nutrition as my bachelor's degree. So I finished my bachelor's degree, my first bachelor's degree in 2016, and then I
Okay.
moved to Florida real quick for a few months, and then to Louisiana after, and I was applying to medical school, and I was interviewing, and then I didn't get in, and then I was like, okay, so should I apply to medical school again, or should I like try to get experience in research? Or I was just very confused during that time. I didn't know what to do next. And I had completed my second bachelor's, which was in molecular and cellular biology, because I had already minored in that in Las Vegas. The second bachelor's while I'm deciding on what I'm gonna do next, just so I could keep my brain sharp, and I'm still studying, and so I was going to school while I was still applying to research positions, because I wanted a research experience so bad, and everybody was telling me, no, 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 you don't have any research experience. We need someone with research experience. But I'm like, but if you don't give me a chance, how am I supposed to have experience? But anyway, I came in contact with one of the professors at Louisiana and LSU Health, and he, invited me to come talk about research. And so when I went to his office, he told me about a graduate school program and what that would mean, and he was showing me what graduate school could be like, and letting me know that there are other opportunities besides medical school. And no one has ever talked to me about graduate school. I only knew medical school. And then he was like, yeah, this is, if you're interested in becoming a biomedical scientist, this is the route that you would take. If, come get your PhD in physiology, your PhD in cell biology, like whatever interests you. I had no idea. I was scared to commit to a PhD. So I joined the master's program, and then I fell in love with the graduate program. Like I loved being in the lab, and I loved going to class and learning in class, and then you're studying. And my PhD was in cell biology and anatomy. So then I also took anatomy courses where we're dissecting the humans, and then go to the lab and look at the cells like under the microscope. So you're seeing from all the way to the full body, all the way down to the cellular level. I was just so excited. All the learning was just so much fun. So then I decided to join the PhD program. I want to commit however many years it takes me to finish this PhD. Yo tenía un trabajo que ya firmé como un año antes de graduarme. And I was already set para irme a Mass General Hospital. That was gonna be my job. I had already interviewed 2-3 times, and I got the position, and that was already set. And cuando llegué el tiempo para graduarme, a lot of things were happening. What I wanted in life changed a lot over a year, and so I decided I didn't want to make biomedical science a career. I didn't want to become a scientist for the rest of my life. I just saw what kind of lifestyle that was gonna be, and you don't really have a life. You have to be in the lab 24/7, and I just didn't want that. I miss my family so much, and I was missing birthdays and missing everything, and for years. So I didn't want that anymore. So I turned that job down, and it was very, very difficult. And I moved to California hoping that I would get a job, but I had nothing planned, nothing whatsoever. And then my sister put me in contact with her, someone she works with, and they heard about this doctor who's a director for the society. She was in, so they're like, oh, you're in neurology, my sister's in neuroscience, and how about you guys just talk, meet? So they put me in contact with her. And then that's how we talked, we interviewed, we got to know each other, and she asked me if I was interested in working with that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely, I would love to. And so that's how it happened. And yo empecé deportes cuando estaba bien joven, pero porque mi papá was a coach. And when I joined, cuando empecé en servicio, you have to do como pruebas de físico. So for that, I started picking up running again, and then I became a physical training leader, where I would lead my squadron. And so I got really into it then, because I was like, okay, I if I train harder, I can run faster for the 1.5 miles and run faster. And then I met my husband, and he's a huge runner, very, 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 very loves running, and an ultra marathoner. And we just both got really into it and continued training for a 5K, and then 10K, half marathon, and then marathon. We just kind of kept pushing the distance. And for something, this was the first time where I get to tweak my training. You said, try this, try that, and see, if it helps, or if it's making you faster, or if it's not, then you try something. It was like experimenting, it's like experimenting with yourself. With that last preparation, majority is running, pero también hago, ¿cómo se llama? High intensity interval training. Si no hagas esto, like you can increase your chances of getting injured because you need to cross train. And then I do a lot of stretching and foam rolling before and after running. Too. So because you don't want to get injured. The main thing is you don't want to get injured. If you want to run for the rest of your life, you really have to take care of your body. Porque yo tengo tantos diferentes intereses en diferentes cosas y yo no puedo quedarme en una cosa por el resto de mi vida. I don't see that for myself. I love that I have a lot of different experiences. And so for now, I see myself still working with the society por un tiempo. And de allí, like, yo quiero tener mi propio negocio para mí misma. I don't know exactly what that is, but I would love for it to be something where I can serve my community. I want to give back to my community. I want to help first generation college students. I want to help people that want to, become runners for the first time. I want to help people because I did not have the help when I was young. For me, I want to be able to have a business where I'm able to give back, and whether I start a nonprofit myself or do some type of charity events. I don't know what that is, but I see myself in the future having some type of business that I can bring these different aspects, and kind of help. But I don't know if that is right now. But that's a little bit further in the future. I want to start a running club, and in the Bay Area, California. I've already started coming up with brands, and I want to just bring the community together and really represent Latinos and really make us present in the community. You hear it on Instagram and TikTok, and you hear all of us representing our culture, but when you go out in the real world, especially for me, in the United States, we're not in all areas. So for instance, marathon running, it's predominantly like a Caucasian sport. There's Ironmans, there's very few Hispanic or Latinos, and so I just want more of our community to be in science, to be in endurance sports. I want them I want us to take up space. I want us to be there, and for me, I never saw the representation, and now you see it a little bit more, but I think you see it a lot on social media. For me, and so I think, okay, well, we really are. But then I go to conferences or I go to these expos for running or whatnot, and the community is very small. I feel like there's just a lot more room for us to grow in these spaces. Todas estas cosas cobran mucho. They're expensive. Para ir a esos races cobran diferentes precios, and so I feel like that's also a limiting factor. But for a lot of families, and I want to create things that are either free or they're cheap, or a lot cheaper than other things. So I don't want there to be so many limitations for being a community to do fun sports. It's the same thing with school. School's insanely expensive in the United, and I know a lot of my community could not afford to go to college either. And again, if there's charities and if there's scholarships that I can help, give resources to the next generation so that they can go to school, and again, we can lift up my community is just so important to me. If anybody has any questions, please feel free. You can find me on Instagram, and you can share my email. But yeah, I would love to help anybody, and anybody has any questions for graduate school, running, science, anything, or just life. Yeah, I'm here. I would love to help.